Welcome to The Voice of Retail. I'm Michael LeBlanc, NRF Top Retail Voice for 2026 and Rethink Retail 2026 Top Retail Expert. This podcast is produced in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Have a seat. Thank you for joining us. I wanted to first start off by helpfully telling you this is not a simulation. This is not AI. This is real. So just in case you're wondering if you're living in some kind of simulation that we cooked up, we are not. I'm Michael LeBlanc. I'm the producer and host of the Voice of Retail podcast and also the Food Professor podcast, the official podcast for the show, and a bunch of other stuff. And we're going to have a great conversation this morning. Our topic today, retail transformation track. AI is rewriting how shoppers find you, what brands and grocers need to know. So this is live for the podcast. Let's hear it from the audience. All right. We have an enthusiastic audience.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, good morning.
Good morning, Michael.
So let's jump in a little bit. Let's first start talking about you a little bit. So who are you and what do you do for a living and how did you get to be you?
I'm Guillaume. I'm the co-founder and partner of ilot. ilot is a consultancy firm. Basically, we help local businesses in their business strategy, growth strategy, brand positioning, marketing plans, innovation, and so on. And I'm also the editor-in-chief of Boillon. Boillon is a B2B media for Quebec agri-food leaders.
Well, and what's your background? Were you always an advertising person, or are you on the brand side?
Yeah, I used to be in advertising.
Okay.
I worked also at Agropur for a bit, and decided to start my own business 8-9 years ago now.
All right, fantastic. Where'd you grow up?
In Montreal.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump in. So, there's some really interesting research that you shared to get us started about consumers in Quebec and their emotions or their thoughts about AI, particularly, of course, we're talking about food here today. And it seems to be skepticism towards AI, and that kind of colors our conversation a little bit today, both in a positive and an interesting way. So why don't we start off telling us about the fact that consumers, they're discovering product in new ways. AI suddenly came upon, I say suddenly, it's a funny thing to talk about AI suddenly. When I talk about it with retailers and brands, I often hear it's a two-part conversation. One part is how do we use AI to be more efficient and effective, and we're not going to really talk about that so much here today at all. We're going to talk about the other side, which is the consumer, right, and how the consumer is changing the way that they're discovering all kinds of things, and of course, particularly food. And I think that's changing in small and large ways. I see some numbers across North America of AI usage that is in the 50, 60, 70. I mean, depending on if you go onto Google, you'll find, almost all results now they're serving up. So in some ways, anyone who uses some of these search platforms. But the use of let's call them the dedicated AI platforms, whether it's Claude or ChatGPT.
Gemini, yeah.
All very strong, right? All very happening. So the real question is, are consumers consciously using these tools? We know, for example, that search terms have gone from 5 words to something like 35 words. Mm-hmm. So we understand that consumers are putting in, it used to be black dress and, or make me a cocktail. Now it's a 35 word, I'm going to an event, I need a black dress, or I'm making dinner for my friends, and, I have a pescatarian and all these kind of things. So it's very significant. So let's talk about that for a while. What have you, at the top line, what have you discovered?
But basically what we see is that the adoption of AI by consumer in food is different, because food is kind of it's so, it's not like fashion or technology or electronics or all that stuff. It's something that we live through. It's part of our daily life. It's kind of the last element that we create from raw things on an everyday basis. It's kind of, if we're a bit not scared, but we don't want technology to interfere with that. We want to keep the natural part of cooking, of choosing our produce, our meat, and all that stuff. So I think that's maybe why we see that with food, there's kind of a little break. Then people I think that people feel that if they let AI or too much technology interfere in their relationship with food, it might be like a no return, you know?
Right.
So
that's interesting.
that's a feeling that we have, because what we see in our research is that people are really not afraid, but they don't want to use AI as much in food that they do in other fields.
And is this connected, if you were to cross tab, as we would say in the research world, if you were to cross tab, I'm concerned about GMOs, I'm concerned about processed food. Do those things kind of correlate to people comfortable or less comfortable using AI? So, I started using AI. I'll give you an example how I use it. Maybe you can lift off that. So I have a barbecue show on YouTube, but I also decided to start baking for some weird reason. And I was trying to adapt a recipe for a certain size pan with a certain size ingredient, Crosby molasses, and I couldn't find one. So I just put it into ChatGPT, and it did a pretty good job of reconfiguring a basic recipe for all my inputs. Now, maybe I'm an outlier, but what do you think?
No, but this is what we see as invisible AI. This is like AI that people, they use it just like they used to use Google or Excel or all that stuff. So you ask a simple question, you wait for the output, and it's kind of a easy relationship.
Yeah.
But when in our study, what we saw is that when people when AI becomes visible, that's where there's a kind of a fear. When it's a robot, an automated like a coffee machine.
Something making your food or making...
Yeah, we're starting to see that in the U.S., like robots serving coffee and stuff like that. This is where people are more afraid of it, when it becomes visible. But when it's still invisible, like when you're asking a question to ChatGPT or Gemini, that's still okay. Yeah.
A question for the audience: how many of you, or let's start the basic, how many of you use the AI platforms? Hands up. So not an average, pretty good. Let's see if that's average. Now, how many of you have ever used it to research your next food purchase or ingredient or go shopping for food? Significantly less, right? That's interesting. I remember talking with some people who were talking about the adoption of technology over time, and they were saying how, if you look at something as simple as the microwave or the telephone, when the telephone first came out, you had to do a lot of things to make that connection, and then it just became invisible, and then it just became part of your life. It doesn't become magic anymore; it just becomes an everyday thing. Do you think?
Yeah, but
we're going there?
Yeah, because in today's world, we don't say that we develop that product using the internet or using Excel. We just don't say that.
Right.
So there's no need for a brand to say that their food product was developed or co-created with AI. So it's just something that is going to be as invisible as possible in near future. Right now is the big buzz. Everybody's talking about that, but in near future is going to be as natural as the internet is right now. And we also see that when there's a new technology coming in, people say that they are okay with it way after starting using it. So we can think about online banking, self-checkout, or delivery apps and stuff like that. So right now, people might say that they are afraid of it, that they don't want to use it in food. But as long as when they'll start using it more and more, it'll become natural. And so maybe in a year or two, they'll be okay with AI in food. But for now, it's still something that scares them.
I guess we're picking up on one of your earlier comments about authenticity. So, does using technology like AI fight against the drive for authenticity and what people eat and where they find things and local? Does it fight against that? Is that a drag on it, or how do you think about it?
It's funny because in food we want authenticity. We want to see the raw product. We want to see imperfection and stuff like that. But with AI, it's kind of everything is perfect. So there is a clash. But one thing interesting is when we talk with Gen Zs, they are the ones that are the more open to AI. They want AI everywhere. They don't want to talk to a human when they go to McDonald's. They want AI everywhere. But they are also the ones that don't want any advertising or too beautiful content on TikTok. They want that raw, behind-the-scene feel because it feels authentic. So there's a clash there for sure. So I think that with food, since it's something that we put in our body and on a daily basis, we don't want to have that artificial perception. Talking about artificial in food is kind of talking about over-processed products and stuff like that. So we don't want that. We are talking right now about having less ingredients in processed products. We want want them as natural as possible. So it's really a disconnect right now in people's mind talking about AI plus food. But even people don't know, and they don't want to know that AI was used in the field, in the shop, in the delivery process. They just don't want to know about it. So when we expose that the product was created by AI, or that the product is using AI in this advertising and stuff like that, there's certainly a disconnect there.
A funny story. I don't know. I was thinking that AI would be. You mentioned Gen Z and restaurants and drive-thrus. Many thought initially, and I'm saying initially, like 18 months ago, that AI would be the perfect solution for drive-thrus. Right? It's a very narrow set of an LLM. Like, you're not asking for the weather in Kansas, right? You're ordering. But it turned out a couple of big brands tried it, and Gen Z spent more time. It failed. Yeah. And I asked a couple of them, I would love to get your thoughts. They said half the time it failed because Gen Zs were going through with cameras and trying to punk the AI and get it onto social media to create content. Yeah. But do you think do you think that's going to catch on? Do you think was that just too early? Not in the technology. I think the technology was
I think it was too early. Just like the Amazon Fresh stores that they opened in the U.S. Yeah. They announced a few months ago that they were going to close all of them. They were going to keep the Amazon Go, like the convenience stores, but the big
shop it like you stole it technology stores.
Exactly. So I had the chance to visit one of the to shop in one of those Amazon Fresh store in Seattle last year, and the feeling is really weird because you enter the store, there's no staff. You take a cart, you shop, and then you just walk out the store without having to take out your credit card or to pay. Yeah. So you really have the feeling that you are stealing the store. It's not a fun feeling. Yeah. And on the other end. In France, Carrefour, the largest retailer food retailer in France, they launched a few years ago Carrefour Flash. The idea there was you enter the store with no need to have a membership like at Amazon's. You simply shop, but at the end you had to go and pay with your credit card on a machine, and that the feeling was totally different.
Interesting.
So I think that technology, big techs will adapt to make sure that there's still to make sure that the human feelings are included in the process. Maybe the same thing with the
drive-thru.
Drive-thru, yeah.
It's such a great example. I went myself to an Amazon's journey in grocery. By the way, they're now the number 2 grocer in America. Anybody know that? They're number 2 now. They just beat Kroger in terms of sales, mostly pantry, but their sales are pretty intense. We don't really know how it is in Canada, but in America, that it's pretty significant. They started their journey with both the Go stores and the Fresh stores, and they only had about 30 of them, with the eye in the sky, right? The millions of technologies, the shop it like you stole it. You just swipe in with a card or a membership, palm in. I don't know if anybody would sign in with their palm. They tried biometric. That didn't work out so well. And they found that exactly what you're saying, that it was just too much for people. It was too weird to shop that way. So then they ripped it all out. And the last time I was there, just before they closed it, they put QR codes in the sky.
Really?
And you took a smart cart. I don't know what everybody thinks of smart carts. I kind of like them, but what's the problem with smart carts is you got to return them back to the store because they're worth like $5,000, and it's really, it kills it. Sobeys tried it. It's a great idea in principle, but you would badge in. You didn't have to. You could shop the store like a regular shop, but it would geolocate you according to where you were in the aisles, and I thought that was okay. So you would get offers on a display panel that were coordinated to where you were in the store, and I thought that was pretty slick, right? That kind of, to your point, It reminds me of a story. Remember that old story about cake mixes back in the 50s?
No.
Okay. That's a weird reference, but I'm going to... So back in the 50s, Betty Crocker came up with their cake mixes, and they were a flop. And they couldn't figure it out because it was a perfect way to make a cake. All you had to do is add water, stir, and you had a beautiful cake. Almost no one would know the difference. And they discovered one thing that turned it around. You know what that one thing was? Add an egg. Right? That addition of that kind of beyond the technology, just adding something to the ingredient. And let's get back on task a little bit. That was fun. Let's get back on task a little bit. I'm very interested now in Gen Z and all of us in this world we live in with AI slop. I mean, it soon becomes very, very difficult to tell reality from what is created by AI, particularly on the media platforms, right? So, as you think about that, what does trust start to look like? When it's hard to believe your eyes sometimes, what does that look like for consumers when it comes to food?
It's a good question. I think that trust will come to. It's a really good question because I think that the way we search in these AI platforms, we ask for a specific element, and we want relevancy. We want in opposite to Google, when we ask something, we want it to be as relevant as possible. We don't want to have choices. We want to have one answer. The answer.
Right.
So right now, people have to, brands have to be online with as more authenticity as possible to make sure that the algorithms find them for the right audience at the right moment for the right occasion and all that stuff. So and for that, it's not only to build a good website for yourself, but is to be in incredible outlets like in credible media, on Reddit, on social media. And the more the consumers are talking about you, talking about your products, your brand, the more you have chance to perform in GEO, the generative engine optimization.
Yeah.
So the new term for SEO. So yeah. So I think that's how trust will build over time. So the more you get relevant answers, the more you trust the engine with
and trust the results.
Yeah,
right?
trust the result. Yeah.
I mean, from a brand and from a grocer. How many people in brands in the room versus brands? Put your hands up. Grocers, retailers, put your hands up. So we got a few small retailers. Welcome. It's interesting because now you've got two constituencies, two groups that you have to build trust with. You have to build trust with the consumer, with the end result, but now you've got to somehow forge a relationship. I love what you're talking about. That forge that relationship with, what do they call it? Authority, right? You have to build some kind of authority with these platforms. And I read a statistic. I'm not sure if it's still true. I say it as if it is. So let's just pretend that 80 to 90% of ChatGPT results come from either Reddit or Wikipedia.
Really? I didn't know that.
And I think that's probably evolving. Now, you've got this real fight because, if you're a brand, I don't know if I want ChatGPT scrolling my page for results, or do I want them finding product reviews or all those things? How do you think about that? So let me put your brand hat on. So if you were a brand advising your clients, whether the brands or retailers, should they fix up their Wikipedia page and start a Reddit thing? Is this just another thing that has to be done?
First they have to rewrite their websites for sure. Today they have to put online the best answers as possible. And the idea here is not to be as loud as possible like it used to be with SEO. So you don't have to repeat the same words everywhere to rank. To rank on Google, but you have to be to have complete answers. So you have to think right now what my consumers or potential consumers might want to know about my products or might want to search to find my products. So it might be tips, it might be recipes, it might be reviews, suggestions on how to use the products. But for Mother's Day, for I don't know, for Easter or for stuff like that. So the more you put your product in context with as many details as possible, more are the chances that Gemini or Chat will find you, because they will look for the relevancy based on the
based
prompt
on your
that,
content.
But
It's let's dig into that a little bit, because I know running sites, and I was a retailer myself, and brands, eventually the trend was more thinning your site out a bit. And you looked at your metrics, and you spent a lot of time and effort and treasure building up a recipe page, and you had hundreds of recipes, and you found out that nobody went there, right? So you were hoping at the time that it was getting picked up in Google, and even that was a big stretch, right? Is this giving new life to some old ideas about press releases and these things?
Yeah, because those algorithms work in a sense that they want to find the exact information you are looking for, and be able to give it to you without changing too much things. So if you have on your website the perfect information the consumer is looking for using Chat or Gemini or Claude or any of these, the chances are that they will pick the content on your website or in a press release and push it to the consumer. So if you facilitate the job of Chat, he will take you.
How many in the audience have updated their Wikipedia page lately for their brands? And how many people have a Reddit stream or are active in Reddit? Reddit is the most underestimated. So if you take away anything from today, think about what you're doing with a Reddit strategy, and even your Wikipedia page, which is what it is. But I think Reddit, and I know brands are buying space on Reddit. Like it's a very active platform right now. If you had only $1 left of a marketing budget for your client, still in this same world, would you encourage them to build, let's say their food brand, build more recipes on their site, incorporate somehow reviews, put out press releases? Like, of all the levers you could pull, which is the $1 you'd
It's a
spend?
really good question. I think it depends on the products. It depends on the context. I don't know, but
I
probably
guess
reviews.
all.
I guess.
Yes.
Yes. Probably reviews. Yeah.
Yes to all. Reviews. Yeah,
Right.
I think reviews are a superpower, I think, for these things. Now, you did some searching. Let's talk about actually using. You did some building and looking for product recommendations, and you had some interesting results come out of your experiment.
Yeah, I do it frequently. Like once every 2 weeks, I ask Chat Gemini to suggest me a menu with local products. I just wanted to see how they understand the Quebec or the Canadian market. And so for this session, I asked Gemini to create me a 100% local Mother's Day menu. So, and what came out was really interesting, because basically all the products that it suggested me were small brands, not national leaders. And then I start questioning myself. So why, like say for chicken, it proposed me La Ferme des Voltigeurs, which is a local player here in Quebec that you can find in grocery stores, and not Excel d'Or, who's the leader in the market here in Quebec. But basically, when I prompt, what Gemini understood is that since I was asking for 100% local, he understood probably that I was asking for something more crafty, more small scale, more distinctive. I wasn't just asking for local. I was asking for 100% local. Another thing is that I asked for a Mother's Day menu, so he understood that it wasn't the normal Tuesday night dinner. I wanted something more upscale, more premium. And also, I asked for a menu, not a specific recipe. So he probably thought, if to be as relevant as possible, that I wanted some kind of storytelling, I wanted some coherence between my services and all that stuff. So I was simply thinking about give me an idea for a menu, but he understood that I was asking for something more crafty, more high-end, with storytelling power. So that's probably why he recommended buying Ferme des Voltigeurs instead of our Excel door, by the way, for example.
It's so interesting. The results from all the platforms are so obsequious, so polite. Every idea that you have when you put it in there is an amazing idea, right? It's like, I have this idea to put arsenic in my bread. Well, that's just an amazing idea. So how do you literally I put the most ridiculous things in these things. I've seen business models built on them that are just crazy. And of course the AI is like, that's a great idea. That's going to really work. How do you trust that results that come back? And is this two-part question? What's your advice to the people in the audience about getting in there and getting their results? And is this like a leveling of the playing field? Because, when I think about in a different world, we were talking about this off mic, so to speak. We were talking about e-commerce. And in the days, I launched Hudson's Bay e-commerce in RIP Hudson's Bay, by the way, in 1998, 1999, very early days. It cost me $1 million to just take a credit card online. Right? And now you've got Lightspeed and you've got Shopify. It's like $28 a month. So it wound up leveling the playing field from a retail technology perspective. It didn't change whether you're going to be a good merchant or not. Are we starting to see the same thing for people creating menus? It's like in the past world, I'm afraid in some search, the big brands with the big budgets could buy their way in and dominate results. But now it feels, at least for now, that there's an opportunity of leveling of the playing field for mid and smaller brands.
Yeah, in the long term, what we'll see is exactly what we're saying, what we saw with Google or the shelf space. Brands will have to pay to be like presented as preferred brands or be pushed or more.
Yeah. Is that the end of AI relevancy when it gets there, though?
Probably.
I don't know. What do everybody think? I mean, on the one hand, you want to take a shortcut and just pay your way in.
No, but now it's the chance for smaller brands to make their way in because, like we just said, on the Reddit, on social media, on your website, the more relevant you are, higher are the chances that you're going to in the answer provided by the engine. Because just go back to the Mother's Day example. If on my website I had a specific Mother's Day menu using my products, chances are that the Gemini would have found it and propose it to me. So, but when I challenge the answer from Gemini, saying, okay, it's cool to have like all those local ingredients, but where can I buy them? The first answer that came to me was Lufa Farms. Lufa Farms, it's a local e-commerce platform here in Quebec, but you have to be a member. Its deliveries are planned on schedule. It's not like in an hour like DoorDash or stuff like that. Sure. So I challenged the answer, saying, okay, but I need my grocery to prepare that dinner today, and then it transferred me to Instacart that will shop at Metro. Yeah. So it's totally apart from the standard retail system that we're used to.
Speaking of retailers, let's talk about that for a little bit. Many of the platforms are trying themselves to get into retail. You see ChatGPT launched transactions but then pulled it back. And they've really kind of given up a little bit. What do you think about the platforms themselves trying to partner? Many of the retailers.
But they're partnering right now. Like ChatGPT announced a partnership with Loblaw, with PC Express. The same thing with Instacart. Yeah. So I think it's going to be with partnerships.
Yeah. Do you have some faith in that? Do you think that's going to work out? It's early days. I guess you can experiment. For any of you who are thinking of experiment, when we talk about the overall marketing platform, the overall kind of build, not the tech stack, but the marketing stack, flyers and all the different things that brands will do. Where does this all fit in, and how does this change now moving forward as more and more, I think more and more consumers will be using AI to discover?
Yeah, they will use AI to discover, but I'm pretty sure it's not the end of shelves advertising. People will continue to go in stores. Like all the reports I've read don't call for the end of grocery stores.
Sure.
It's simply going to be a more balanced. E-commerce will continue to grow, but physical stores will still be there. People will go there maybe for a last minute buy for fresh products. There's still a barrier for fresh, for meat, for produce and stuff like that. And many reports also say that people will go to grocery stores to get some inspiration, to have displays that will present them with a mix of products that can inspire them for their barbecue or for their Saturday night dinner. Sure. Or stuff like that. So stores will get a bit more experiential than what we have today. A bit like the Whole Foods that if you went there recently. They all have those tables with a mix of products that give you inspiration. Yeah. So you have to you feel that you have to cook Italian tonight because you've seen that table. So AI will be more in this discovery phase. So people searching for ideas for how to have lunches that are more fun for kids or stuff like that. And so it will be really important for brands to be there in the discovery phase, but also still be there in the physical stores. And for smaller brands that have their own e-commerce platforms, I think that AI is a really, really, really big opportunity for them, because they will be able, if they work well with the Reddit reviews and Wikipedia and all that stuff, they will pop up in the answers given by Gemini, Chat, and all that stuff, and they can be redirected directly to their website. So there's no need to fight to get a place on a physical shelf.
You know, you're touching on something really interesting, because when I think of retail, I think of shopping and buying as two different things, two different behaviors, right? So sometimes we just want to buy. We have a list. It's jobs versus joys. It's just a task to get done, right? I have a big dog. I just want the dog food delivered. I don't want to go and experience dog food stores. Not my interest. But then there's and e-commerce is very, very good at that, right? E-commerce is great. If you know what you're looking for, you can go to any platform, any food place, and type in. And
eventually it's going to be automated. So dog food every month, you're going to receive your bag. And
so it's going to know what you want before you know it. They've been talking about that for 20 years. I don't know about that. But anyway, we're very hard to predict, us humans. But the shopping part is really interesting. So when I think of traditional retail, I always tell the story. I've been married for almost 30 years. I have no idea what to get my wife on any occasion at all anymore. But what I do is I go to a retail store and I wander around and I talk to an associate, or I get inspired, as you're saying, inspired. So I think we're starting to flip the note a little bit, where online becomes, I want to be in. Think about this or talk about this. I'm going to not type in a chat saying I want Chuck Hughes sauce. I'm going to type in a chat, I'm looking for a sauce that's made in Canada, that is a long search. It feels like we're flipping the narrative a bit, right? What do you think?
Yes and no. Okay. I think that brand equity will be really, really important. It's still really important, and it will be more and more important, because if let's say you're talking about tomato sauce from Chuck, but if you want that specific one, you have to write that you want the Chuck or Stefano's one. If you simply write that you want tomato sauce, the AI will search for other elements. So are you, based on your past prompts, searches, so are you someone looking for the cheapest price? Are you the one looking for a local product? Are you looking for the best
celebrity brand like Stefano? I thought I saw some Stefano folks here.
Yep. So
there you are at the back. I said Chuck Hughes because I went to his restaurant last night, and I like Chuck too.
So it's going to be really important to build a brand that is unique, but also have a product selection that is unique. Just like brands are developing special formats for Costco, brands will have to develop specific product or specific formats that their competitors don't have. Let's talk about, let's say, milk. Okay, if you simply ask in your prompt that you want 2% milk in a 2-liter container, it will send you any milk. But if you want a specific one like Naturel, you might not want to type the brand name. But if there's a product characteristic that is really important to you, like enriched in protein, omega-3, or any other type of element, that's something that you will put in your prompt. So if you're the only milk brand having 18-gram protein products, but obviously you will come out first in the AI recommendation, and then the product can be ordered from any retailer via Instacart or DoorDash.
I'm going to ask you a very hard question, given the pace of change. If you and I were back on this stage 3 or 5 years from today, I almost should say 3 to 5 months, but let's say 3 to 5 years. I'm gonna challenge you. What is more important? Is it what has changed more? Is it consumer attitudes towards the technology? And I feel this could go at some point either way, right? People could get very, very, and I already see people starting to turn against too much AI. You began talking about that at the beginning. So in 3 to 5 years, as they become more comfortable with AI, and have brands really just transformed and retailers changed the way they sell?
I think that the attitude towards AI will change faster. It's, like I said earlier, it's going to be invisible. It's going to be part of our everyday lives. We're starting. I was at CES last January, and those
it's the big electronics trade show
biggest,
in Vegas. Million people or something.
And all those big brands, LG, Samsung, Sony, Amazon, they all have smart appliances now. So, and those smart appliances that recognize what you put in your fridge, send you some recommendations, so make sure that you don't lose your food because the
expiry date
is coming, and all that stuff. So for now, these appliances are not connected to delivery systems, but it will in the near future. So your fridge is going to become a e-commerce platform, and it's not science fiction. It's coming, and those appliances right now are really, really, really expensive. But I'm pretty sure that in the near future, we're going to see some rental options, just like we rent a car or we rent rent our phones and stuff like that, because those big techs, they want to have access to the data. So they will make sure to enter your home. So, but this... They will sell you the simplicity and all the advantages of having a smart fridge, but it's pure AI interfering between you and your food. So, but it's going to be like a bit sneaky, and so I think that people will. They will simply accept it, just like we accept the internet and online banking and all that stuff over the years. On the other side, the food scene, food retailers, all that stuff, it will change, but I think that, especially in Canada, it changes really, really, really slowly. But what we are starting to see now is that places where we can buy food are becoming, they're more numerous. Like say that you used to go to Metro, IGA, Loblaw, and those places, but right now you can buy food at Canadian Tire. You can buy Shoppers Drug Mart or small supermarkets. Sure. The food aisles at Dollarama are now like they're growing. So, and these are retailers that are really, really, really powerful in e-commerce as well, let's say for Canadian Tire.
Yeah.
So I think that the landscape will change a lot in the near future, because these retailers, they know and they understand that food enters in your home on a really frequent basis. You order food much more. You buy food much more frequently than you buy tires or you buy hockey net or
frequency
stuff like.
sake.
Yeah. So they will want to enter that game.
Interesting. Let me tell you how I would. Tell me if this is going to happen in 5 years. The idea of refrigerators scanning and knowing what's in your refrigerator, that's kind of been around for a little while. What I want a refrigerator to do is I want to say to the AI in the refrigerator, tell me what to make for dinner tonight based on what I have in the refrigerator. That's, I think...
They do it now.
That's, I think...
Samsung has its platform. They're doing that. And better than that, when it appears on your fridge, that let's say you have a chicken and want a roast chicken, or anyway, the fridge scans the chicken, knows the weight, the size, and that stuff. So it starts the oven for the perfect cooking time, the perfect temperature, and all that stuff. It's not science fiction.
Can it send a text to your girlfriend to come over?
Yeah, we tested it.
Get some flowers, maybe.
We tested it at CES, so it's existing right now. So
that's fantastic. You know what? The next level for me of that discussion, then we'll get to our last part, which is advice to brands and retailers, is I want to know what to do with my leftovers. So that's a more complicated issue, right? I got half a chicken and a quarter soup. Make me something from my leftovers. What my wife and I call buffet night every Saturday. We make up what's left in the fridge. All right, last questions for you, just from advice. And we'll part this to two parts. We have both brands and retailers in the room. But what's your advice? You just leave here. You need to start doing this if you're not, or do more work on it for the brands. What's most important for them in this context?
If you are not using AI today, you have to start right now. Like, go back to the office and start using AI.
You personally,
either to help you in your marketing plans, to help you brainstorm, in your personal life, to help you like build grocery lists or stuff like that. You have to start using it. Just like we had to learn how to use Google 25 years back, you have to understand and know how to prompt and ask questions to Gemini, Copilot, or any platform
correct them too. Like have an actual conversation,
so that they start understanding you, and so you have to start now. Secondly, for brands, I think that you have to go back to your brand content online and start revising it to make sure that you put more details, you put more tips, you put more just more details about your product, occasions, when to use or buy your products, more context, and all that stuff. So this is something that has to be done, and make sure that your content is kind of quotable, so that Gemini can pick it and simply push it to the consumer asking a question. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's talk about AI for retailers. I know when I talk to retailers, they're like, "Oh my goodness, now I've got another intermediary between me and the customers. This is somebody else I have to deal with and build authority with, and let alone figure out." What's your advice to the retailers?
The advice would be to stop looking simply at your main competitors. Competition will come, like we said earlier, from other retailers, but it will also come from big technology companies. Like I said earlier, fridges are going to be a e-commerce platform in a near future. So if you're not right now dealing with Instacart or DoorDash or any other delivery platform, you have to start building bridges with them, if not to think about being on Amazon, or I don't know, but you have to start looking at a future that is not only controlled by the five main players that we have right now in the Canadian market.
Right, interesting.
And I think that the last one is you have to be curious. You have to be curious about how AI is going to affect our relationship with food. Like I said earlier, I was at the last CES in January. I was the only with my partner, but we were the only agri-food, Canadian agri-food experts in the agri-tech conference rooms. So,
all right, everybody, tip. There's a tip. Book your flights now to CES.
Yeah. So, but there are tons of conferences. We have a big AI conference in Montreal in September. So there are tons of them, and food people are not in these events. So be curious and go there, be there. You have to understand. We can create tons of parallel with other industries, but food is seriously way back on.
That's a great call to action and a great way to wrap up. Before we wrap up, if people want to get in touch with you and tap into your insight and talk about food and AI, how do they get in touch?
Yes, all those platforms, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram. We also have our own podcast on Spotify.
What is it called?
It's called Bouillon, like a broth in French, Bouillon par ilot. So, and we have our booth in the media section here, so please come and see us.
All right, everybody, smash those subscribe buttons, as the kids would say. Thank you so much for joining me on the stage. I hope everyone got a little bit of insight out of AI, and thanks again for joining me and sharing your insight.
Thank you, Michael.
All right. Have a good show, everybody.